Welcome to Uncomfortable Facts. Today we're going to dive into mainstream media, including CBC is fueling fear and speculation about Trump taking over Canada and Greenland instead of reporting facts.
So with the capture of Nicolas Maduro and the talk of Trump trying to take over Greenland, plus all those 51st state threats last year,
I think Canada is going to be a very serious contender to be our 51st state.
that suddenly propelled the question, is Canada under threat from the US? Well, not exactly, but many of the experts we spoke to are increasingly concerned by the moves from the Trump administration.
In the last 2 weeks, there's been another shift, another fundamental shift that suggests that the world is even more dangerous now for Canada than it was before.
Now, those concerns stem from a statement from the White House on Tuesday, saying that the US wants to acquire Greenland for security reasons and is discussing a range of options, including utilizing the US military.
Trump made vague comments about Greenland in the past. He did not announce a policy plan or a legal pathway to annex any country.
Thomas Homer-Dixon, executive director at the Cascade Institute, says Canada should be prepared for possible military coercion from the United States.
The Trump administration might try to use some kind of explicit or implicit military coercion against us, either in the Arctic or with respect to some of the boundaries, Canadian boundaries, which President Trump has already declared he doesn't think are legally valid.
He says the fact that the Trump administration has been so explicit about possible military intervention in Greenland, it's really set the tone for Canada.
These comments are being treated as imminent threats when all they are is political rhetoric, not actionable or governmental decisions.
In a sense, the threat of the use of military force, the exercise of military coercion, has already been undertaken. It's already part of the game.
But other experts suggest that the possibility of a military threat is unlikely. But that doesn't mean Canada won't face other threats from the US. A recent report from the political risk firm, the Eurasia Group, suggests that the US political revolution led by Donald Trump is the top risk facing the world in 2026. In at number 3, something mentioned in the US administration's national security strategy, a term Donald Trump has coined the Monroe Doctrine. It's a reinterpretation of the 19th century Monroe Doctrine and suggests the US will use a mix of military pressure, economic coercion to assert dominance in the Western Hemisphere.
First of all, Canada is a sovereign NATO member. Greenland is also part of Denmark, also a NATO member. So there is no legal or military mechanism for the US to take over.
It's all happening at the same time. So it's I think, tempting, and I think certain logic dictates that the administration is viewing the continent as a whole. But I do think really the national security strategy is really thinking about everything south of the United States. What it means for Canada, there's a whole bunch of implications.
That's Christopher Hernandez-Roy, Deputy Director at the Center for Strategic and International Studies in Washington. He says the US focus on the South, including its intervention in Venezuela, will have second-hand implications for Canada.
Canada is an important pillar of the multilateral architecture in the Western Hemisphere, particularly through the Organization of American States, which is, I don't think anywhere in the calculation of the Trump administration, all of these actions are unilateral. So that diminishes the multilateral architecture, that diminishes the rule-based order that prevails, until recently, prevails in the hemisphere, things that Canada values.
As for Trump's statements about wanting Greenland for national security reasons, Hernandez-Roy says it does raise a threat to Canada's Arctic sovereignty.
All these are fear-based speculations that just drives clicks and attention for the media. It replaces explanation with word cases and assumptions. All it is.
It raises possibilities that I think Canada is not currently equipped to deal with. And it raises the specter of the US wanting to patrol the Canadian Arctic for the same reasons that it is saying it needs to have Greenland to keep the Russian and Chinese ships away. It might just be that much more tempting for the United States to assume on Canada's behalf, perhaps, more patrolling of the Canadian Arctic because Canada's infrastructure is just so thin, at least at the present.
First of all, U.S. presidents are constrained by Congress treaties, NATO, and obligations of international law. Personal desire does not equal power, so Trump could desire whatever he wants, doesn't mean he will get it.
Caution against kind of the belief that there's imminent risk for any U.S. military action towards Canada.
For Imran Bayoumi, a security and strategy expert at the Atlantic Council, he says that this means Canada needs to continue to step up its Arctic presence, something that Prime Minister Mark Carney has commitments to do.
The U.S. wants its allies to take on more, and it's going to call for Canada to have a bigger Arctic presence. It's in Canada's best interest that it works with the U.S. in the Arctic, and then it's also in Greenland's best interest that Denmark works with the U.S. in the Arctic. So a cooperative approach rather than one based on threats of annexation would set all three countries up for greater success.
Unfortunately,
again, this is just media propaganda, spreading fear-mongering, speculations without explaining any legal limits. It's more fear tactics than anything else by the mainstream media.
for Canada and Denmark, a cooperative approach doesn't appear to be in the Trump administration's DNA.